Scenario A. A 15-year-old girl can get a double mastectomy but can't get breast implants. Scenario B. A cancer patient cannot self-diagnose themselves. Scenario C. A child can be given hormone blockers without question. So, which of these should we question? The reality? None of them. Every state's medical board determines standards of medical practice. They enforce laws and guidelines from private medical organizations. It's a closed, circular loop with no external accountability. Activist groups pressure medical organizations and legislatures. Medical organizations create standards of care. Legislators codify those standards. State medical boards enforce them. So, my sister lied and cried to my dad, "Paul broke my finger." Dad said, "It's not broken, let me drink my coffee." So she goes to my mom, "Mom, Paul broke my finger." Mom says, "Oh, you poor thing." Runs to Dad, "Did you see what Paul did to his sister? You ignored her. You're a bad father." So Dad goes and spanks me.
Your argument depends very heavily on the standard of care, which I take it is defined by a medical consensus. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Have there been occasions, I mean, the medical consensus is usually very reasonable and it's very important, but have there been times when the medical consensus has been politicized, has been taken over by ideology?
We have no facts about that in this case, but I wouldn't disagree that that's possible. And I think it's a really...
Isn't it a fact that it's happened in the past?
I think
Three generations of idiots are enough?
I think that's certainly a concern. And if there were evidence of that in the record as to whether or not there were a standard of care that wasn't really based on patient safety, that would be highly relevant evidence.
Well, isn't that a reason to apply First Amendment scrutiny when what is being regulated is pure speech and not just saying medical standard of care or medical consensus? That's the end of the day. Rational basis review, anything goes.
So let's say you're a minor wanting a boob job. Here's what stands between you and that procedure. Parental consent is required. Psychological screening is mandatory. Body dysmorphia assessments are required, and a surgeon can refuse based on professional judgment. The FDA prohibits silicone implants until the age of 22. Multiple documented assessments, the system assumes mistakes will happen, and so it builds in these guardrails. The gender-affirming care fast track now, affirmation, well, the guardrails are off. No body dysmorphia assessment. In fact, gender dysphoria is explicitly not considered dysmorphia. Minimal psychological gatekeeping, often just a letter affirming the team's self-diagnosis. Questioning the decision can actually be illegal under conversion therapy ban. Affirmation is the standard. The patient's self-assessment is presumed correct. A 15-year-old can get a double mastectomy but can't get breast implants. Under cancer treatment, multiple specialists are required. Second opinions are standard. And you explore all options, question everything. If the doctor doesn't explore alternatives, malpractice. Gender dysphoria, single affirmation sufficient. Second opinions, discouraged. Explore only affirmation. Question nothing. If the doctor does explore alternatives, license revoked. In one of these scenarios, Dad must have learned his lesson.
I want to ask you what Justice Kagan called the mirror image question, and Mr. Mupon and Judge Hartz's example about homosexuality in the 1970s was professionally considered to be a mental health disorder. What if a state back then might have passed a law prohibiting talk therapy that affirmed homosexuality? Would that be subject to rational basis review on your theory?
So, Your Honor, what our theory depends on is that there is a treatment being provided that's being regulated, and that the regulation is consistent with the standard of care.
Let's check both of those boxes in our hypothetical.
Then yes. And I want to return to Justice Jackson's point because...
So yes,
They could regulate.
The state could forbid a regulated licensed professional from affirming homosexuality
if that were
consistent with the then prevailing standard of care.
That's right.
And so likewise, if the prevailing standard of care were to change or to solidify that this sort of talk therapy is beneficial to minors, or at least not harmful to minors, then a state could pass a mirror image statute to Colorado's that prohibits any attempt to affirm changes of gender identity or sexual orientation, and that would be subject to mere rational basis review on your theory.